Hello, my name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. Now, last time we got together, we talked about how to solve your problem. And I don't know what your problem is, but I sure as heck give you some ideas of how to solve it. And basically, all problems are the same. And by that, if you look at, and I'll put a link up to that last video, you are here and you want to be up here. So the difference between here and here, that difference, that's your problem. How do you solve that problem? And it doesn't matter if it's a relationship, a work situation, a family situation. You are at one place and you want to be at another. You're at this in the relationship and you want the relationship to be up higher, up different. So that's the difference. And that's what we talked about, solving it. And basically, it says, like the old saying, physician, heal yourself. But in this case, it is creator, which is you, of your world, creator, change your world. And how do you do that? Well, you have to change you. Oh, that is interesting. And that was last video. Now this video, we're going to go a little bit off the grid as if we haven't done that in the past. And we're going to talk about puzzles. Now, in Zen Buddhism, they have a way of inspiring devotees or students to practice solving a particular problem or puzzle. And it is stated most of the time nonsensical. By that I mean when you first are introduced to the puzzle, you say, well, that don't make any sense. But if you use that as a focal point for your practice, it begins to unwind in ways that are sometimes quite remarkable. And out of those ways of moving into with your deeper self, that's self with a capital S, you find enlightenment. Now this can take a moment, just like that, or it can take a lifetime. Now one time I had a very small book, but it was very thick, and it had many of these puzzles or koan inside of them. And somehow I lost that book between all my travels. But I remember some of them, and they weren't nonsensical at the time, as far as I could understand. And they were to demonstrate how you get enlightened. And enlightenment is basically moving beyond the illusion, seeing your world differently. Now, in the illusion, nothing is what you think it is. And when you're beyond the illusion, it begins to fall into place. The puzzle begins to have all the pieces, and you say, ah. That's funny. Ah, I see things differently. So, one of those, one that I remember, I didn't even have on my notes, I just remembered it. It was, and this is usually where they have a teacher or a master, and he has certain disciples or students. And so this new student comes in, and usually it's in a garden or under a tree or in nature somewhere, and if it's raining, it's in a zendo or in a hall. And they say, and this new student says, what is Zen? And the teacher said, shh, come back later. Got too many students around now. So they went on with the lesson, and in the late afternoon, in the dusk of the day, the student comes back, and the teacher says, okay, come on with me. And he takes him over to a grove of trees, and bamboo trees, a lot of bamboo. And he says, there's your answer right there. And the student says, well, I don't understand. Just a bunch of bamboo. And the teacher said, yes, but some are big and some are small. And the student was enlightened, just like that, from that little conversation. So enlightenment can come in funny ways. Now, another of the koan that's pretty popular, and you probably heard of it, but I'm going to say it again. You know the sound of two hands clapping. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Well, that's kind of nonsensical until you focus on it, until you begin to look at aspects of this nonsensical puzzle. And to do that, you have to move beyond the illusion. Now, how are you going to do that with, what's the idea of, what's the sound of one hand? What's the sound of one hand? Well, then you got to think, what is sound? What is sound? I want you to think about that. What is sound? Where does sound come from? And we're not going to get deep into this one, but you have to use physics. You have to use metaphysics. It helps to use quantum physics. And as you begin to move into this puzzle of what is the sound of one hand clapping, it will take you deep into the inner self. And out of that will come enlightenment, will come a way of seeing beyond the illusion. So that is one puzzle. Oh, how magnificent is that? And you're welcome to use that because that's kind of a public domain. Now, the other one, the one that I want to talk about, is also public domain. And you have heard about it, and you have in many different ways. So I'll say the koan, and then I'll do a little talking on it. Before you are enlightened, chopping wood, carrying water. After enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water. What's the difference? Oh, now. That's a little bit unusual. So again, you have to look at what are the elements that you're talking about. And so we'll use metaphors for some of them. For instance, chopping wood, carrying water. What is that, do you think that refers to? Now, you do it in your daily life. So you chop wood and carry water every day, metaphorically. Metaphorically, you earn a living. You have to work. You have to chop wood. You have to carry water. And so it's into the world. It's doing in the world. It's being active in the world around you. And so, before enlightenment, you approach your daily life, your daily work in different ways. Ways that are compatible with the illusion that you're raised in. How you feel about work, how you feel about relationships, how you feel about romantic and non-romantic relationships, how you feel about family members, all kinds of things begin to come around as you, quote, chop wood and carry water. So this is done in a certain mindset, a certain framework that you have learned. It's the egoic world. And when you're in the egoic world, you got to abide by the rules. So now, that's kind of where we're at, okay? Now, you go to some master, and the master could be yourself, because you have an inner self. You have a spark inside of you that is so magnificent that when you open a path to that inner self, to that inner original self, you can become enlightened. But it's also a teacher, and it teaches you, but you have to listen. Getting back to the other koan, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Now sometimes in order to hear that sound, you have to be still and silent. And then that inner spark, that inner voice can be heard because you've tone down the din of the world around you. Contemplation, meditation, visualization, self-reflection. Those kind of paths will turn down the noise and change the atmosphere in a way that makes it easier for you to hear that still small voice. Oh, and it will speak your language, but also the ego speaks your language too. So, but the ego is very loud, and boisterous, and you won't hear that small voice until you become still, and you can use whatever method works for you. I like to use self-hypnosis, and that seems to work good for me. Other people will use other techniques. So now, as you quiet down and you open a portal, a doorway into that quiet space, and lead you to enlightenment. So let's say you got enlightened, or you're on your way. You might not get there, but you're doing some progress. You're doing your practice. You're doing whatever works for you. And as you do, you still have to carry water. You still have to chop wood. So what's the difference? As you continue this practice, you will find that you will change your attitude. You will change your attitude. And attitude is everything. Now, when you change your attitude in a positive direction, by being aware that you are much more than you think you are, you shift the chemistry inside of you. How do you do that? By how, see, every thought you have produces chemistry. Every thought. That's what it's all about, going in your brain, but your thoughts all don't come from your brain. Some thoughts go to your brain, and then your brain responds to different actions. So sometimes as you step into that silence place, you send different messages to the brain. The brain is very predictable. I know a lot of people think, well, no, the brain takes care of itself and it can do all kinds of stuff. Yes, it can, but it's very predictable. Predictable in which way? Well, now, if you take, recognize when you take a medication, what you're doing is you're signaling the brain. You take the medication, goes into your stomach, goes into your bloodstream, and goes throughout the body, and part of it goes to the brain. And the brain reacts predictably to the signal. I better say that again. The brain reacts predictably to the signal. So the brain is predictable in what it does with signals that it gets. Very important. That's how, did you see how I did that? Very important. It's predictable. Why? How do we know that? Well, if you took a medication for, say, anxiety, and it goes in your bloodstream, goes up to your brain processes it, it's all chemicals. It's all chemicals going on, and you become calm. You become less anxious. Now, you take the medication the next day. It makes you paranoid. It heightens your anxiety. Oh, not predictable. Could make you depressed. So, the point I'm making, and I hope you're getting this, is that the signal causes the brain to do predictable things. Predictable. Very important. So now you are moving down this path into enlightenment, and you are getting changes in attitude. The changes in attitude are new thoughts that are going to produce different chemistry. And that chemistry, when it is, oh, and I did a video on this, and I'll put the link up there. It's called The Illusion and the Chemical Factory, I think. You change your chemistry, and you are less likely to become ill or sick. You're less likely to become depressed or anxious. So when you move into enlightenment, you change your attitude about life and how you observe life. Pretty nice. And since you are the creator of your life, as you move down this practice from non-enlightenment in the egoic world to being enlightened and changing your attitude of how the world is perceived by you, you change your chemistry. You change who you are. Now, since you're going to chop wood and carry water, as long as you're in the illusion, when you change your attitude, you change your attitude towards chopping wood and carrying water. So, moving from not being enlightened in the egoic world to having some inroads into that other space of enlightenment. You might not get all the way there, but as you move in that direction, your attitude about the world and you will shift. So before enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water. After enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water. In both cases, you're working, you're doing what you need to do in the illusion. But when you are on that path to enlightenment, the work is different. The chopping of the wood and the carrying of the water takes on a different aspect. Now, we only have a couple seconds. I thought I'd have more, but I'll put some more. I'm going to put another someplace up here a picture of a small book written by a guy named, and I always pronounce this wrong, his first name, Khalil Gibran. It was written back in the 30s, 1930s. And it's called The Prophet. And if you haven't had an opportunity to go through that book or read that book, you can do it online. Just put in The Prophet, not just Prophet, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. If you don't, you'll get a lot of other prophets. It's a poetry book. And in there, he's got like 28 chapters. And each chapter looks at a different aspect of the human condition. Let's see, some of them. I'm going by memory now. Love, talks about love. He talks about children. He talks about selling and buying. He talks about a lot of aspects of life. And in one chapter, he talks about work. He talks about work, chopping wood and carrying water. I mean, he doesn't use those terms, but that's what he's doing. And one of the things he says is that y'all got to work. That's part of being here. Y'all got to do something. It puts you in relationship to the environment around you to do work of some kind. And he relates work to, and I got to find it right now. He relates work to love. And we, he says, always you have been taught that work is a curse and labor a misfortune. But I say that that when you work, you fulfill a part of Earth's farthest dream assigned to you when that dream was born. So you came into the world to be here and participate in what's going on. And that's what the Enlightenment process will help you do. It will help you understand that you are much more than you think you are. And as you shift to understand how magnificent you are, you change your attitude. You change your attitude about a lot of things, and you don't worry so much. And you become more attuned to what's around you in a different way. So if you get a chance, look that book up. It's kind of short. It's only about 60 pages. And see how close you can come to changing your attitude, slowing down the noise around you, the sound. You might even think, what is sound? And be good to yourself. And we'll see you again next time we get together. Bye now.